Welcome to POG or Dog with your host, Just Russ. Joining him tonight, representing the Zoomers, we have CramTheHorse. And for the Millennials, Soklops and Actuality.
And welcome back to episode 26. Soklops, your camera's not on. OBS. But anyway, welcome back to episode 26 of the podcast. That is right, guys. Our weekly podcast we have done for officially a half a year. Oh my god. Half a fucking year of this shit, man. Yeah, so this is definitely going to be the last episode because we've peaked in every way possible. Actuality, welcome back to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing grand.
All right. And Cram, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Recently I've been watching footage of Amsa playing, and I just gotta say, like, he is playing fucking amazing recently.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I fucking love
anyways,
Melee.
and Soklops, you found your way to the screen only for me to go in on you because what the fuck? Why in the fuck did you change your beautiful channel logo from what you had before? It even matched Actuality. You guys were like brothers in arms. And now you've abandoned him for this Monsters Inc. fucking Mike Wazowski met like Sully abomination of a, talk to me about it.
All right, he's done, guys. Is everyone still awake in the chat? Yeah, so that was kind of the whole plan, was to kind of shift my focus. Seeing as you mix up me and Actuality already before the show started, we'll make a clear distinction in our avatars at the very least. It is the Soklops Cyclops.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's an iconic.
It's iconic. It's
Wait,
yeah.
There's no way you're on board with this.
Everybody knows about the Soklops
Everyone's on-
Cyclops.
everyone's on
Everybody
board.
knows about it.
Who?
What?
No, there's
like,
no.
I just don't know what the bottom lip is doing. Like, what is that? I can't tell.
There's no way. Chat, can we get a poll going?
It's
Can I
urban legend.
press 1 if you like the Soklops Cyclops? Press 2 if you think it's atrocious. Okay. Well, anyway,
It's like the ones have it,
no.
folks.
look.
It's
All
like
right.
the ones have it.
Mods.
Oh,
banned.
let's go. We got a 2. Let's go. And
Zach
we'll-
Reel's
this
the
was
most
being-
contrarian hipster that you could have had in this chat.
Yeah, Zach is actually. You don't want him on your side.
No,
Cram, did you see me do it? I did it really fast for you.
No, I didn't see it.
Anyways, so we took about a month break. Yeah, it was episode 22 that we did this last time. But we're back, like we said we would be, talking about the generational gap. Talking about really what is the difference between a disgusting Zoomer like Cram and a graceful, elevated, academic, beautiful
You want to be a millennial so bad.
men like
capping.
these millennial
He's
men
You want to
right
be
here.
a millennial so bad.
He's
Dude,
capping.
I am a millennial.
You wanna be a
What's the
millennial
year? What
so
year were you
bad.
born?
It doesn't matter because
It
look,
does!
I have
Ah.
millennial
What it is?
values. I
It's the
have
definition
millennial
of what makes
values.
you it's the definition.
Dude, no, I have
year?
millennial values. We've talked about this on the last
We're
episode.
talking about.
We talked about
our
this on the last
generation.
episode, and you guys
No,
agreed with me.
No. So here's the thing: if we're going off of our values, then my generation is like mid 1700s, like douchebag.
No,
French
no,
philosopher.
because
that's my people.
no, because
So-
you have the audacity to think women have the right to vote, so you're good.
Okay.
You are not 1700.
Flip
sir.
it and ship it, boys.
You have
Oh,
the
yeah.
audacity.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm leaving feedback on that. But
Putting words in my mouth. Yeah.
anyways, guys, all right, we left off. We're just gonna pick up right where we left off. Is there anything you guys want to say other than this new abomination on my screen? Is there anything else that's changed in our lives in the last month that you guys want to, before we get into the meat
So
and potatoes
jealous. It's,
here?
like, so patently obvious how jealous you are of his.
I'm not jealous, dude. I legitimately think it looks like Mike Wazowski.
Is that a problem?
It's literally red Mike Wazowski. Like, whatever. That's okay.
I think
Anyway,
it's kind of cool. I just don't know what the bottom like teeth are doing. Like, that seems kind of weird.
Don't worry about
Hack,
them.
what are you trying to show us?
Zach's mocking my candle, so I'm just showing it. Scented candle.
Oh, you
It's
literally
beautiful.
had an open flame.
I have an open flame, guys. There's a flame here.
All right.
I thought I was
Actuality is always within arm's reach of fire. That's the problem, actually.
Yeah. And
Anyways,
this podcast fire represents your life.
Cram, what have you been doing in life?
I mean, a lot of it comes down to playing a video game for like 3 or 4 hours,
Okay,
and then reading manga for like 30 minutes, and then going to sleep.
that's a very long day. That must be brutal.
It
It is arduous for sure. Some might call it backbreaking.
You're brave.
Others compare it to subway miners. But I do what I can.
Don't think I didn't hear you use that SAT word, man. You're starting to learn. You're starting to add some vocab. Let's go.
Yeah, I am pretty individualistic.
I mean, if let's say
Almost the
any
word.
ladies out there were trying to get a good SAT score.
Yeah, dude. I know this guy, Cram2678 on Discord. Perfect SATs 13 times in a row. Not even kidding.
Let's go. Sock. I know you don't care about the Boston Celtics, but your hometown team is playing my hometown team in the NBA Finals. Games have been good.
What's up?
Game 4 was hype. Game 5 was the most ugly shit I've ever seen.
The best part about being a Boston sports fan is I don't need to care. I can just sit back and watch them win.
They're actually losing right now, but
Right now,
okay. Well, I'm
Mark
I'm
those
letting you
words.
know. I'm letting you know.
guys, you guys can pre-clip that and use it later.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
XQC put $100,000 on the Celtics winning.
that's crazy.
And that guy has never made a mistake with money.
What about you, Ak? How has life been in this last month? Have you seen the sunlight recently, or have you still been dwelling in your cave? Wait. Oh no, I think his mic is muted. Hello?
Is my
he's
mic
good.
muted?
Oh, there we go.
No,
Now we
it's-
got you. Now we got you.
Sorry. I was just talking with something in my mouth. It's been a
That kind of
terrible
random.
month, honestly. It's been a month of tragedy in my family, and not great things have happened, but I'm rolling with the punches. Good to be back in the company of some strapping young gentlemen. To be the grandpa bear that I am. Here I am. I'm here to keep the fire tended in the cave while you guys don't get jobs and don't work, and you just sit around playing video games all day. So I'm the
Okay,
boomer
I
bear
feel
of
like
this
that
generational
might be kind of
podcast.
targeted. Might be just a little targeted there.
Slightly.
I mean,
targeted.
it's a targeted attack upon all of you.
That was
Upon
like
all of
an airstrike for sure.
you. Look, we can't all be Camp Crystal Lake counselors. All right, we can't all have esteemed employment like that. So
True.
Yeah,
so
I'm still
right.
jobless and bitchless, dude.
It sounds like
I'm
you had a
lucky.
really rough month. Speaking of that, first topic, bullying.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, right out the gates, man.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So, okay, here's why I put this as a topic. Bullying, from what we saw in like TV shows and movies growing up, is like the jock picking on the nerd. You know what I mean? Like Breakfast Club, you got like that shit going on, or like give me your lunch money, nerd. Okay, what was bullying like since I'm not a millennial, for you millennials? Like what would you get bullied for? Who was getting bullied? Give me the rundown.
First of all, I think I speak for both of us when I say neither of us were bullied. We were doing the bullying.
Clearly not.
All right. I think that is very evident, and we are in no
Clearly
way
not.
taking out a childhood worth of abuse on you guys, passing on the torch of
I'm not
sorrow.
insecure. I'm not insecure.
to weaker
Yeah, I mean, like, we
vessels.
have never been bullied.
No, dude, I didn't really get bullied, honestly. Like, true facts. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends. I wasn't like a popular kid, but I wasn't like the kid that you were picking on, right? I was the kid that was wearing wolf shirts and like reading like terrifying shit, and everybody was just like, I don't want to bully that kid. He might fuck me up, you know?
He might hurt me.
I was wearing wolf t-shirts, Mexican soccer jerseys. I was an insane person. I was wearing like random weird hats and gym shorts in winter. I was one of those kids, you know. So you know,
Oh,
you
we were
don't.
the short
knows that
guys.
if you wear gym shorts in winter, you are destined to kill a man by the time you turn 30.
I
That's
mean,
just a true fact.
you gotta try everything once, is what I say, just to have the life experience, you know.
Of course, yeah, it'd be
Absolutely.
boring without it. I'm glad you brought up wolf shirts actually, because that was going to segue directly into my my observation that I made over the years is nobody was really. I mean, everybody got bullied a little bit, but nobody got like cartoon bullied that I remember. Um, and it was always funny enough. You would think that like the weird kids wouldn't be bullies at all, but sometimes they were. Sometimes it was the kid with the Jack Skellington fingerless gloves and the skull fedora that was actually dishing out the bullying. Because I think they were actually like, there was like an unhinged facet to their bullying. It wasn't always the jocks. In fact, I ran into a lot of jocks who were like really nice guys. You know, it's not like the movies, man. Just whoever is whoever's getting bullied at home comes in and takes that on other people.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely say that it's not like a cartoon type thing where like the popular kids beat up the nerds, right? Um, I mean, I've experienced bullying pretty much from all the social circles a little bit, but like for in my experience, it almost came exclusively from women.
Oh,
Oh, you know that means
And
they
as you can
liked you.
see,
that
and
explains a lot. Yeah,
they did not like me.
they
I
threw
can
mulch at
They
you and
liked
said,
you.
"Get away from me! I don't want to kiss you."
Yeah,
They
no,
really
they're more
weren't.
like get away from me.
Cram, you missed your
Slug.
shot. You missed your shot, bud.
You just had to lean in extra hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
all that
mean,
was.
maybe. I don't
You'll
know.
get
I'm
them
not
next
a
time. It's
scientist.
all good.
Um,
Yeah, no, the jocks didn't bully, dude. The jocks weren't really like insecure. You know, they didn't really. Nothing was going wrong.
The jocks
them.
just wouldn't talk to you. The jocks were busy playing sports, dude.
If
They
you
didn't have
interpret that
time
as
to bully.
bullying, then you're a wimp. You know, it's
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, if isolation is bullying, then that's not a thing, dude.
yeah,
You
for
know?
sure, for sure.
I mean, like, I feel like it also has to do with like what school you went to. Like, I went to a pretty like middle to upper class suburban white kid school. So there wasn't a lot of like outright like slam kids in lockers or give kids wedgies kind of bullying going on, right? But there was that kind of like, oh, you live in town, you know, where all the row home apartments are. That's where you're from. Oh well, I
I
was
see.
gonna invite you to my pool party, but I don't know. Your wolf t-shirt's kind of creeping me out, bro.
You're kind of smelly
But
and
you
poor,
know,
and I don't like
like
you.
that's the bullying. It was like, you know, it's like white collar crime bullying, right? It's like
Correct.
that little stratification was going on, but it wasn't like the jocks being like, "Fuck you." Like the jocks didn't give a shit, man. They were busy
it's
like,
like, oh, you're
you
not in
know,
my tax
doing
bracket.
stuff.
Hey, let's give this kid a swirly, guys. They weren't doing that. They
Yeah,
weren't doing
dude.
that.
I've never experienced that type of like fiscal worth bullying, but I will say like there are these poor kids at my school, and I used to just relentlessly just go in on them all the
Oh,
time.
damn. All right.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah,
like,
you're
so you were the
proving
bully
my
and
point.
the bullied. Okay.
He's
You
Oh,
proving
you
my
were
walk
point.
up
The
like
weird
like
kid
hey
does
what
bully.
hey what franchises do your parents run? Like what's your whole deal here? And they're just like, oh my dad he works at the franchise. I'm like, oh.
Oh, damn. All right.
Anyway, I don't know what this. Okay, at my school, I feel like, and this is crazy, the nerds would bully like the delinquents. Like if someone was
Yeah.
like not showing up to school or was like dumb, dude, the nerds went in on them like group. And I don't know. And I'll be honest, I was one of those people. But you know, I mean,
Oh, nobody would.
whatever, man, whatever. But
Oh,
We
you
get a
thought
kappa
of
in the
yourself
chat?
as above someone else? I actually cannot believe that.
that's crazy. Anyway, yeah, I feel like the jocks, like, for the most part, if they were like a total D-bag, like the women would bully them. But for the most part, I feel like if they just were like athletes that were just nice dudes, like no one really like, you know, got
Yo,
like
here's
too
who bullied-
egregious with it.
Here's who bullied the jocks. They're fucking coaches, bro.
Correct.
Fucking high school coaches were the ones that were
True.
like, you know, the like fucking retired Marines who were just like, you gotta be in the weight room at 6 a.m, you sack of shit. Oh, you gotta run a mile. Like that's what happened to the jocks. They didn't have any energy left to bully anyone because they were fucking exhausted, dude.
Yeah.
They were getting bullied by them. They were getting bitched out by their parents because their grades were shit because they were too busy learning lacrosse.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have a break to bully somebody.
Yeah. What did
Or
I
they
get?
weren't a star quarterback like their dad, so their dad would take that out on them.
Yeah. I will say though, when I switched schools from private to public, I did get more bullied, for like obviously weight things. I'm not the skinniest boy out there. But also just like, dude, actually that is when like delinquents started bullying like the smart kids though. When like I got to like public school and they're like, "You fucking nerd, kid." I'm like, "Aw." Because before we had the power, the smart kids in the private school got to shit on the delinquents, man. But now it was reversed. I got what you get what you put in, right? It was all
Role
karma
swap.
in the end.
Correct. It came
Um,
around, dude.
in school, did you guys what was the fucking cool thing? Like, who was the cool person?
I mean, I went to school with Damn Daniel, so I mean that was the apex.
Oh, whoa.
He was the
Whoa.
coolest dude.
With the white vans.
But he was
even?
like, yeah, with the white van. Like he was like too cool. So like no one even talked to him. It
Yeah.
was like almost reverse popular.
He had an aura.
But like, was the friend who filmed the Damn Daniel thing like also popular?
Yeah, but he was a grade above Damn Daniel, so he I wasn't in school at the same time he was because he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Damn. That's fair.
So I don't know the vibe.
Yeah, that's a different experience. So what was cool in your grade was like Vines.
Yeah, I mean it was like the end of Vines, but since we had
Such
such
a
a Vine
Zoomer thing.
star in our school, it still kind of lived on.
Dude, I feel like I didn't experience like people plugging like being like, "Oh, I'm Instagram famous" until college though. Maybe I was just unaware of it, but like I feel like now you go to school with kids and they like flex like where they're popular on social. But like back then I feel like it wasn't really that big of a deal. I remember like girls would talk about like having a higher ratio of like followers to being or like how many people they would follow to following them. But other than that, like, yeah, because they'd be like,
That's like so weird.
yeah, because like they would do follow for follow, and then one girl would backstab the other girl by unfollowing to like up their ratio, and then
Holy shit.
they'd both unfollow each other. Besides that, like, I don't really remember like. I don't know, like your online status being important at school. Because if it was, I could be like, well, I'm a level 30 in League of Legends. Silver 5.
That's how you. That's
Silver
how you become a bully
5, by
magnet.
the way.
That's how you impress them right there.
Bully
Dude.
magnet.
But
So yeah, no, your online status wasn't important in our time, but your online status on your AIM was.
Yes.
Like we used to like live off that shit. So like whoever had the coolest customized MySpace page with custom HTML with like the coolest playlist, and if you weren't in someone's top 5 friends, they'd be like, "Bro, why am I below this person? Or why did you take me off your top 10 friends?" It was actually way more violent.
Wait,
I
Justin,
was about to
can you
pull out
can you
that
relate to that?
wait,
My
what, Cram?
Can you relate to that, Justin?
No, MySpace was before my time.
Oh, that's strange. It's almost like there's
Ah.
a gap between you and
I just wasn't old enough to use MySpace, but that's
That's
okay.
strange. It's almost like there's a generational gap, one might say.
destroyed. Actually destroyed.
Yeah, MySpace
Cram's
was
with me here.
everything, dude.
MySpace,
was
so like my big
Wow.
MySpace catastrophe was that my dad was like, he was hip and with it, man. He was on the MySpace, right?
Oh no.
And when I got a new girlfriend, like whatever year it was that MySpace was a thing, and I put her as my top friend, right? As one does, you got to put your boo at number 1, right?
Your side piece.
My dad called me. My dad literally called me, like from his work. He called to our home and he was like, "Hey, why am I not number 1 anymore?"
No way.
I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Your
And he was
dad
like,
was
"You took
bullying
me
you.
off your, you put me number 2 on MySpace. I thought we were best friends." And I was like, I thought he was trolling me. He was not trolling me. He was dead serious. He was like so upset and butthurt that like this girl waltzed into my life and stole his top spot on
Stole
MySpace.
the slot. Wow. Yeah,
To
no, there
date
was
myself.
actually like a chronological list of who was most important to you.
Wait, how does
Right.
that get decided?
people
Top
would-
8.
Who people
Do you
would
just
beef
like
with you.
manually decide it?
Yeah, you would
You
drag them in a
click,
certain
you
order.
drag them there, man, and then you mix them around, and you're like, "Oh man, someone's gonna be mad," and you just
Bro,
send it,
that
right?
is actually fucked up because you literally
The
just drag your friends.
pro play was putting 8 bands. You put 8 bands as your top 8. Nobody fucks with you. Nobody bitches about it. Nobody complains. You're just like, "Oh, My Chemical Romance, Yellow Card." Just
Yeah.
throw them in there. You're good
You
to
put
go.
But like
Slipknot up there and
secretly,
you're
you
good.
do have your list. You just don't
Right.
display it.
Correct.
Here's my back in my day story, right? Back in my day, you had to have a .edu email address to have a Facebook. You could not use
true.
Facebook if you did not have a college email. You had to
Oh,
sign
yeah,
up with
I've
a
heard about
college
that.
email, and you could only talk to people at your college for a while, and then they branched out to letting you talk to like other people. But at first, it was literally just your college. Like, hey, what dorm are you guys staying in? Let's all get to know each other, right? So like that was what Facebook was in my day. It was literally just kids that were at your actual college. You weren't like friends with your weird like aunts and uncles and shit, right? You didn't have to worry about that shit. And you
Yeah.
didn't have like a place to post. You had like a wall, but you couldn't really like you could post on your own wall, but it was kind of cringe. And like people would post on your wall and like say stuff to you like, "Yo, there's a party at the whatever on this day," and you'd be like, "Oh man, I'll be there." That was like what Facebook was back in my day.
Yeah. And then it
Now it's
it
a
went from
monster.
that. Yeah, it went from that to like an actual like war crime level of data collection, so they can sell you single use plastic kitchen gadgets off Amazon through ads, and like really bad T-shirts of like wolf T-shirts like Ak would buy. It's literally they farm data off of you now. It's like actually
Like you
pretty
say
horrifying what
chicken
it's
in
become.
like one post, and you get recommended like 10 like
Dude,
chicken
no, I've said
things.
very specific shit, and it's came up, and I'm like, because I don't have a Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook in like 10 years because I'm not 40. But Instagram is owned by Facebook, so it's the same thing. It's the same thing as having a Facebook. And yeah, same deal. Yeah, you say something or you mention something, and that data's theirs, man. Scary.
Yeah, but it's like even
Kind of dystopian,
it's
if you ask
beyond
me.
what we even think because we think it's just like what we're saying, but it's like the metadata type shit, you know? It's like everything in our lives is stolen just by
Yeah.
like posting something.
It's them putting it into a self-teaching AI algorithm that's gonna
Yeah.
one day overthrow you and know all of your darkest secrets and your weaknesses.
I was gonna say
I mean, if
the equivalent to the MySpace friends is actually like on Snapchat. You can have like a best friend with like a heart, and if you got that
yeah.
with your crush, that means like she's sending you the most pictures per day, and you sending her the most pictures per day, and then
She better be
know,
sending you
dude,
the
you
most
know
pictures.
you're in once you get the heart, man.
I can't even use Snapchat because it feels not right. I can't do Snapchat. I can't really do TikTok. I went through a TikTok phase, as we all do, but I can't, dude.
I've never
I don't
downloaded
belong
it.
there.
I actually
just
use
not gonna
Snapchat
play
over
it.
texting. I prefer Snapchat to texting now.
Nah,
Yeah.
fuck that, dude.
No,
Yeah, I don't like
Snap is
texting.
sick because you can just fucking like save only the important shit, and then all this stuff is like all the other shit
All
you can just
your-
delete.
All your predatory crimes are erased. Bullshit, dude.
It's
I
really
want
not
that.
like that. Like I feel like people like gave that a bad name. It's really not like that, to be honest.
I don't know. I don't trust it.
Ak, we should get you on Snapchat, dude.
I don't need Snapchat. What do I need Snapchat for? Is the real question.
It's
All
more
I'm
like
saying-
primary form of communication. Like people don't text anymore; they snap each other.
No, my primary form of communication is to speak to people.
Carrier
That's-
pigeon.
That's my.
I mean-
speak to other human beings.
All
I'd
right,
rather
man.
Just, hey man, how's it going?
Are you the type of
that's-
person that
that's-
calls or
that's-
texts?
Yes.
See,
yes,
I'm
dude.
a
Oh,
That's
I'm a
I
cringe.
caller
can't
too,
stand-
but
I can't
Imagine
stand
talking.
making plans. No, I can't stand making plans over text. Is my problem. Like they'll say like
Okay. I can
little
see that.
tidbits of information over like 40 texts. So like some friends I know, they'll just be like, "Hey man, like this is the time and place we're gonna do this," and I'll be like, "Okay, that's cool." I don't have to call those people. The one who's like, "So anyway, what?" And I'm like, "All right, I'm just calling this bastard because they're
I ignore
talking in
calls from Ak,
circles
but
and
anyway.
text." Yeah, I call
yeah,
Zach all the time. He
I
doesn't
like to
answer me
call
usually.
too when I'm making plans because it's just like then you can hear how they feel, like yes or no.
Yeah,
Because
calling
sometimes they'll
is
say
different.
yes, but they really want to say no, and you can hear it on the phone.
Yeah, calling is like for important shit. I hate talking about serious matters over text. It's so cringe. It's actually very annoying because you can't say what you mean.
Yeah, there's no
I mean what you
nuance.
say when you're texting someone, and things can be so misconstrued.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Never
So,
have
yeah.
a fight with your romantic partner over text. It's
Correct.
It's GG if you do that. Don't
Yeah,
engage.
it's an L.
Don't
Yeah.
Your
engage.
words could be twisted to mean whatever that person wants them
Plus,
to
if
mean.
it's over text and not in person, and she like steps out of line, you can't even hit her back.
Oh god.
It's like, what do you-
Whoa.
Okay, just clip it and ship it, boys. We got
Hey,
we got a gold
17,
mine here.
1700s Ack is okay with this. Let me just
Not
take a step back and say he is
You're
totally down for this.
misunderstanding the libertine movement of the mid 1700s.
Oh god.
They wouldn't have
Here
hit
we
a
go.
They wouldn't have
They
hit
would, yeah, they wouldn't have hit a woman. They would have strung her up and like done much
No.
worse.
No,
Jesus.
Never.
they would have sat alone, and if anyone came up to them, they'd be like, "Nothing means anything, man." That's what they would have said. This means anything, man. And they're like,
So
"What?"
deep,
It's like, "I've
bro.
just been sitting here writing this book about how nothing means anything, and now I'm going to publish it."
Oh
like, why?
god.
You're like, I don't know. It's a good question because nothing means anything, including this book.
Libertarians. Oh my god.
No, libertines, not libertarians, son.
I feel like
Yeah,
we've
you're not a
talked about
libertarian.
this like on all the freaking topics, but is there anything in particular you guys look back fondly on with your memories of like your younger days? What was like do you look back on like wow, like this well, we've talked about Ack peaking. We've talked about I don't know. We talked about a lot of stuff. I'm just saying, is there anything in one particular moment, instance, era that you guys are like, wow, that like I wish I could go back and like trade a year of my life to live like that again.
I would relive probably like 5th or 6th grade just to experience the hype of like Beyblades again.
Yo.
That was so
Yeah,
fucking sick.
Beyblades are pretty incredible. Don't you have Beyblades right behind you though?
Yeah, I literally have them right there.
Okay. But you don't feel the same magic.
I mean, I do.
No, you
No one
don't.
else does.
No, you don't. Nobody does. Nobody does anymore. That's just the worst part.
Beyblade testing me right now?
No, I'm testing your unconditional love for Beyblades. When you're
I
a
kiss
kid,
these Beyblade before I sleep every night.
I honestly don't doubt it, but
Sometimes I
Pixar
slip one
didn't happen.
in my shorts and then go to sleep and just leave.
Let it rip, dude.
I let it rip for sure.
What I'll say is I kind of miss like the days where I had like the energy or the willpower to like run around the neighborhood with my buddies playing like Manhunt and just like fucking around, and you just end up with like dirt in your eyes and shit, and you just didn't care, and you had like I said, unlimited energy, and you could just run around. That feeling of like you honestly feel kind of invincible when you're a kid because you're too dumb to realize.
I'm being completely honest, I never actually did that with my friends.
Dude, that was like the best thing.
Like hanging out with my friends was like going to their house and playing video games and like
No,
eating
that's
meat.
lit too. I did that as well. And I that as well. I feel like video games don't have the same magic. We were talking about this the other day. We were rewatching a bunch of like dumb trailers and gameplay videos of like old shitty video games, and I'm like, dude, I used to sit here and play this shitty, the equivalent of basically like a browser flash game. I used to sit there and play it for like 3 hours straight, not get bored. I was happy. That's scary. That scares me to think about. It's like, wow, you used to be like so content with like whatever you had. I think that's something you kind of lose as you grow older and things become more and more complicated. You're like, the little things that are so good are like, it's good, but you just kind of falls to the wayside, which hence Beyblades, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, if you were working 12-hour shifts every day, Cram, your Beyblades would lose a lot of meaning to you. So maybe you should keep doing what you're doing. Keep the Beyblades alive.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I have this kind of like Soklops, like what you were saying. I have this theory about life, and I don't know if it's necessarily correct. I don't know. This is just how I kind of look at it. I look at like life as like a bucket, and you're filling up water in it depending on, what your experience is, right? So early on in life, you have
quote from like the bucket list right now.
No, not the bucket list, not really, but
Is this real?
no,
Okay,
I feel like I mean that's how I describe it, right? So like you have like early on in life, what your happiest memory is just probably like eating your favorite food and playing your favorite game. But then
Yep.
eventually you experience bigger happiness levels. Like, I don't know, like spending quality time with like friends, like having a, like a late night talk, or, falling in love, whatever. So like your bucket just gets bigger. The amount of fun is the same, but your perspective has changed, right? Same thing
Yep.
with like sorrow. Like early on, falling off your bike, dude, was like the end of the world, man. You freaking scab your knee, you tilt, you feel embarrassed, and you're like, Jesus, man. I am so sad. This fucking sucks. And then over time, if you fell off your bike today, you'd be like, fuck. And then you just move on, right?
I'm over it. Yeah.
You know what I
felt
mean?
way
Like
worse than
your
this.
capacity for joy, for sorrow, for pain, like all your feelings, even romance, like takes time, but it just gets bigger and bigger. So like the things that used to pique you it's not like they haven't got like the flash games are worse. It's just you've seen better,
Yeah, no, for sure. Things get more and more complicated. So like the simple stuff. Yeah, I think you, as you have more examples of stuff like that. I don't know. It's just interesting to see like I don't know. Like I can't picture like when I think about what we as a society have access to, the amenities of modernity, everything, like how you can instantaneously know anything that you want to know just by typing it into a browser. You can be dumb as a bag of rocks. You can be as dumb as me, and you can figure out anything that you want to know. And it's like, I can't imagine living in the 70s where people were just going around just breathing in lead-filled gas, killing each other, and all they really had to do was like listen to 8-track tapes and smoke weed.
Yeah,
Bad
it's
weed.
crazy how much technology we have, and I still can't fucking find out who asked.
Damn.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, mods. You know the
All
drill.
right.
But
I
dude,
fucking hate Zoomers, right, guys?
dude,
He did the who
I
asked,
have
guys.
this very potent
Where's the
memory
D's nuts joke?
in like headspace of when I was a kid and I was in like 3rd grade. We used to have these like card turning things where if you got in trouble in class, they'd turn your card. Did you guys have any of that?
Yeah, something
Yeah,
similar.
dude.
Something similar. You get like a hole punch or a stamp, yeah.
Yeah, where it basically like that means you did something bad. And my dad would get like fucking heated if I got my card turned for whatever reason. I don't even really know why. But it was like bad. He would like scream at me for like 5
Because you're fucking
minutes.
up.
Yeah, and so like whenever my card got turned, I would just like get in the car, like start crying, like I don't like so sad, and like tell him,
You knew what was coming.
but it's kind of beautiful because I was so dumb I didn't realize I could just lie and just tell him that I didn't get my card turned.
Yep. Kids don't lie, man.
Like, and then I started lying and it worked. I'm like, oh, what?
You're cheating. You're literally hacking.
I've
dude.
never seen a card before in my life.
It's like card turned. I wouldn't.
I was
wouldn't
mad
even know
good.
what that means, even if it happened to me.
Dude, I was so good. I actually got an award.
Yeah, I was so good at lying. I actually got off 13 counts of federal crimes.
All right.
Stop lying.
Ak,
Flip
what
it.
do you look back fondly on?
My fond memories, man. There's just so many fond memories of life to look back on. I already told you guys my peak, but I think of it this way, right? You guys are saying like, shit gets bigger and it's not as fulfilling later in life or some shit or whatever. Like I'm literally doing the same shit I've been doing for like 20 years, and I'm happy as a clam. I'm miserable, but I'm also happy. I think that goes with the territory, right? You got to have the duality of such. But like when I was a kid, the best like time was being outside on a night like tonight where it's a beautiful night, getting drunk and smoking weed in the park with all your friends until
Yeah.
they one by one had to trickle home.
I was talking
maybe
about
the cops
childhood,
would
Ak.
show up.
I was talking
The
about
cops would
childhood.
show up.
Yeah,
This
like
is
15,
like
16.
high school, dude. This is
Yeah.
high school, dude.
Here,
You
15,
consider
16.
that childhood? I consider that like adolescence almost.
That's your kid.
You think I can remember my childhood after all the weed I smoked in high school? Come on.
Okay,
I don't know what the fuck I
okay.
did when I was an infant. What the fuck was I doing when I was a kid? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Existed, man. Now, my fondest memory of my childhood is one of my earliest formative memories. I was in my dad's old blue Chevrolet Caprice Classic. He was a soccer coach, so he would take me to his soccer games. And I remember he didn't want to deal with my bullshit because it was really cold out and it was going to be miserable if I was outside. So he just put the radio on and brought me a hot chocolate and let me sit in that fucking car. And I remember being so fucking happy because I didn't have to go out in the fucking miserable cold and watch a soccer game I didn't want to watch while people like came up to me that I didn't know and like talked to my dad for hours so we could never leave. I just wanted to sit in that car and listen to the radio, and like I had control of the radio. I was like a kid, but I didn't really know how it worked. But I was like, bro, I'm listening to music on my own with my own hot chocolate in my own like dad's car, but I could like I'm in my car, man. Like, so I remember that for some reason, like really like memorably or whatever, that particular cold night and hot chocolate. But I still do the same shit. Like that's what I was saying. Like back in the day, hang out with the pals, get drunk, and smoke weed until the cops came and told you to go home. That's just what I still do. So I haven't changed at all. It's still the same life that I lead. Just enjoy it as much as I can.
We're
I don't think
just
it's
more
any
aware.
better or worse. Yeah, you get more aware, and then there's a threshold. Like Soklops is saying, one day you wake up and you're like, "Oh shit!" Like the bucket, for example. Not to ruin your bucket analogy, but one day I woke up and I'm like, "This bucket was made in a fire trap by an underage worker who doesn't have a happy life like I do." And I bitch about like the dumbest shit. This fucking bucket I'm using as a metaphor was made by a kid who actually has real problems.
Yeah,
So
like
like
the least
that's
they could
one day
do
I
is at
woke
least
up
like
and knew that.
at least make the bucket like a higher quality too. Like fucking
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah, I say pay
Stupid
them
ass
less.
workers.
What do you guys look back negatively on when you look back on your memories, your life, the life that you have lived and continue to lead?
I've got kind of like a bizarro version of Actuality's experience with sitting in the car, waiting for his dad to get back from coaching soccer, listening to the radio. I remember leaving my Catholic church as a kid and having to sit in the car and wait for my mother to stop talking to everyone. And it would be in the blistering sun, and it would be for like 2 hours straight. They'd be talking about literally nothing somehow, and just wanting so bad to go home so I could play with my shit. I just wanted to go build Lincoln Logs and play with Pogs and shit, and they're sitting there talking about bonbons and fucking,
Dude,
it was
I
literally
don't know
nothing
how.
talk.
Did you know that
Quality?
Catherine made the cake that we had?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. It's like, dude, do we really need this? You're gonna let your kid sit in the car with the windows up over this? Like,
Dude, when a mom
let's
is
wrap it
talking
up,
to
lady.
another mom, dude, the
Wrap it up.
quality of the conversation is lower than any
Oh my
words
god, dude.
ever said.
L combo. That's all I'm saying,
But the
dude.
quantity of words have never been higher in any instance.
Yeah, it's actually who asked on methamphetamine, dude. It's
It's
literally
so bad.
like nobody asked any of this shit. Like none of this. This didn't even need to be. You're wasting oxygen.
And
Could
then like
we-
the conversation ends and like it's ready to go, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, my son actually just joined." It's like, bro.
Correct, dude. Murderous. And what I used to do was there was this big statue of the saint of whatever the church was, big
Just,
statue,
like, praying.
and there's all these little candles that people would light, and I would just run around in circles on the tiles, just distracting myself. That's another thing you could do as a kid, is you could be distracted doing pretty much anything.
Oh yeah, you could do fuck all. You'd be distracted.
I mean, but still, 2 hours is like that's like torture. That's mental torture, mental warfare. So I guess that's probably one of mine, is like spending time at church. I have one, not to hog the mic, but one of my favorite memories was whenever any of my buddies wanted to sleep over on Saturday night, we'd be like, hey, if you're sleeping over, my mom would be like, if you're sleeping over, you got to go to church with us in the morning. That's the stipulation. You got to go to church with us. And I remember my buddy, who was like the least religious guy, like he was never there, no religion in his house whatsoever, went to church with us, and he was given the Eucharist, the body of Christ, and he put it in his mouth, and he hated it so much that he spit it into his hand.
You told me about
Yeah.
this.
And I remember being like, as a religious, I said this last podcast, as a religious person, I was like, oh my God, dude, like you're fucked.
You're going to hell.
You're done, dude.
You're done.
But he would, to
It's
him,
over,
it's so
dude.
funny because to him it was like just a gross piece of fucking cardboard, which it is. I mean, that's what it was.
God.
And yeah, no, it was just I have really fond memories actually of stuff like that. I actually am so glad I was raised Catholic. I'm actually making it a point. I'm going to go to a Catholic service soon so I can watch all of the old people in monotone chant their hymns and like be horrified with the fact that they think they're actually transforming wine and cardboard into the body and blood of Christ. I think it's going to be a really fun experience. So
Just like
I just
looking
love that
back on the
shit.
life you used to lead.
Exactly. I think it's really fascinating when you're completely separated from like that mindset to like see it as like an outsider. I think it's actually kind of cool. They're free to do. I think it's cool. I think it's a great community or whatever. But I think it's kind of like fascinating. You know, it's like almost like very cult like or whatever. But not to get too
I mean, there's
too into it, but
similarities
it
for
is
sure.
interesting. I think it's cool. I'm actually glad I was raised Catholic because you get a lot of weird perspectives you would never have.
A fun fact about Soklops being in that car is that in that heat, sweating, just drenched in his own sweat, trying
Yeah.
to peek up over the peak of the car to see when his mom will be done, seeing that more ladies were lining up to talk to her about
Yeah.
something else.
So
And
real.
while he's in there, while he's
Guys,
in
I'm
there,
triggered. I'm triggered.
starting to hallucinate from the absolute dehydration he's suffering.
Get out of here, dude. It's too real.
That is when the Cyclops came to him and saved him.
Oh,
Correct.
no.
Saved his soul. It
He
came
spoke-
to him in a fever dream.
Literally a
in his mom's
hallucination,
Buick.
and it's never left him.
And
Oh
here
Oh
he
my
is.
God.
He's here, dude. He's here to stay. Sorry.
No, I have like definite like permanent brain distortion from the amount of times I've just sat there in the heat while my mom's doing something,
Yep.
or the cold. But I mean, it doesn't really get cold.
Cram, what do you
Sometimes-
look back negatively on?
I look back negatively on. I mean, I have a lot of regrets, like not pursuing something or like basically just wasting my life away. But besides, like an actual event itself, probably. Actually, I don't know. I have to think about it.
Honestly,
probably
everyone
just
feels
not-
that way, though.
Probably just caring more than I should about institutions like schools and shit, where it's like I'm just like scared of like failure. But it's like at the end of the day, like in third grade, if you don't take a test and you just fucking leave, like they're not gonna really stop you. Like they don't really care that much.
I think they do.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. Like, so many people do care. Like, the
Yeah,
institutions are so reinforced and supported
Like,
by
do you
people
guys
within
have the
them.
memory of like where every time you're about to go to a new grade, your teacher's like, "This shit will not fly in 4 years."
No, this time it's real.
Like this, I'm like, this is serious shit.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel bad for kids who like get wrapped up in the drama and like I mean there's not to get too dark, but there's people who like take their own life from what's happening in high school, and I wish I could like shake them and be like, dude, you're gonna forget about all the shit in like 5 years. Just stick it out. Like it is like first through senior of high school literally does not matter at all, really. I mean, I guess it could influence like your junior and senior year could influence what colleges you get into, but like really the only time that it matters is when you're putting your own money in your education. Anything outside of that, you're kind of at the mercy of wherever you're born at. Sometimes public schools in your area are just shit, dude, and you're just dealt a bad card. Like that's just the way it is, and like none of that shit matters, dude. I feel bad for
I like
anyone who
that.
gets like in their own head about it,
Yeah, I think that even applies to like just modern life. I don't think that's just something that is just present in like grade school or whatever. Although
Yeah.
that notion of the implied consequence like definitely is like more prevalent back then, where it's like, oh, if you don't go to school, like you'll never amount to anything.
Yeah.
You'll be like your uncle so and so, and you'll drink yourself to oblivion. And it's like I kind of wanted to be like that uncle, right? That was kind of the guy that was cool. When
Yeah,
I
he's
was
a
around
homie.
him, he was telling me cool stories. He was like, he wasn't trying to buy my affection by giving me presents because he couldn't afford them because he spent all his money on booze. So all he had was his stories, and he was like, I used to be a photographer. Here's some photos I took. It's the only worldly possession I have. And he'd like
Hey, you
show
wanna
me
hear
that
about
shit,
the-
and I was
wanna
like,
hear
beautiful,
about the
you
guy
know?
I
That
killed
guy's so
in
cool.
Vietnam?
And you remember that
Right.
guy.
Right. But so like I think that in modern life even we get ourselves all like it's understandable if you're faced with like it's a horrible thing like you lose your job or like
Mhm.
something your girlfriend breaks up with you or like something that you were counting on being this like bedrock of your life and it's been this constant for so long stops being that way. You're like, oh no, my life is over, and you think that this heavy shit that you feel is just gonna be there for fucking forever. but like that stuff isn't actually permanent, and that's like it's hard to know in that moment, and it's hard to communicate to a person who's experiencing that how that's not permanent, because it feels like it is, and it feels like they're like making like light of the situation, right? If someone comes
True.
to you and they're like, dude, it's not that big a deal, you're like, it is a big deal, man, it's everything.
It's
But,
really
like,
not though.
ultimately those you don't even like think about all of the times that you felt that way, and you haven't thought about any of those things since.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
once they
True.
were resolved,
Pretty
you don't care. Like enough time has passed, like that you no longer are like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot to turn in that algebra assignment and I got an F and I had to take it and show my parents. Like you don't fucking that doesn't follow you. Like it's
Yeah.
not like this burden that you have to experience the rest of your life.
Yeah, I
I
remember
don't know.
like
I think
like being so upset, like crying about my first girlfriend. And it's like, dude, what the fuck was I? It's like, dude, that's literally like nothing. It's like, it would have been a mistake. It would have been awful if I stayed with that person. That would have been like the most self-destructive, awful thing that you ever did, in hindsight. But in that moment,
Right.
you're like, damn, that was everything. It's
Right.
like it's literally
The
nothing, dude.
the real tragedy would have been if you stayed with them, gotten married, had kids you shouldn't have had, and like
Correct.
figured out 20 years later that you should
Correct.
have tried other shit, done other things, and had a life.
You really
probably
shouldn't be in a
should have just done that.
you shouldn't be in a serious relationship until you're like 25 years old, and that's
You
on
should
God.
not be getting married before you're at least mid to late 20s. You should not be like the same thing.
Correct.
That's what I always was confused about with like going not to go back to the church thing, but I've got my own church qualms. And like the big thing that confused me about church was when you're like 12 and they're like, all right, time to make a decision about your mortal soul. Want to get confirmed
Yeah.
in the church?
Yeah.
Like, bro, I can't even drive a car. You want me to decide like that I
Yeah.
believe or don't believe something? Like,
Like,
shit, man,
hey,
that's
little kid, I know you just got
that
done
ain't
playing
right.
Pokemon Blue.
I mean, it's baptism
but,
or hell. It's baptism or eternal
like,
lake of fire.
oh, you
and
got
it was never
a
after the
Gengar?
boring.
You got a
They
fucking
never
dog.
asked you that question after the boring service. They asked you after the one where they had all the delicious cakes and the coffees and the snacks and the hot cocoa. And they're like, all right, well, confirmation class, we're all gonna have some candy, and then you're gonna give your lives to the Lord. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem correct.
Yeah.
I think I come from a totally different perspective because one, I was also raised Christian or Catholic in this, and also not but like 2 or 3 years ago, I was the confirmation class teacher. However, I'm the assistant teacher, and a lot of the times the main teacher will say something, and I look at the kids and I'm like, nah, dude. I'm like, let's be honest. Like, you can take the good and the bad from stuff. Like,
correct.
what thing I hate about like the church is just like they love to just stack on like guilt, shame,
Correct.
and make you just feel like dirt and worthless.
Catholic guilt is a thing.
I feel, yeah, no,
Specifically
for sure. And I think that's the one thing I'm like so strongly against, because people would be like just feeling like garbage. And that is what like leads to like, you know, like this negative sense of self and stuff. So like when I like teach the kids and they're like telling me about like, they're like confessing to me that they like hooked up with their boyfriend or something. I'm like, dude, it's okay. Like, it's not like you make what you want of it. You know, like your relationship with your faith is your relationship with your faith. And if you decide to not have one, then that's okay too. But like, you know what I mean? I would also
It's
like,
not a big deal.
I would low key encourage people to like ditch the program if they weren't into it. I was like, hey, if your parents like are forcing you on this, like it's okay to leave. Like it really is. I'm like totally like, I get it. But what do I look back like negatively on? I think it's also that it's just like I always felt guilty about everything, and I feel like if I was more confident in like what I was doing and didn't feel like shit every time I made a mistake, and it wasn't even like I felt like I made a mistake. It was like everyone like, you made that mistake. Like I can't believe you did that. So I look back negatively on like that part of my life where it feels like no matter what I did, I was always trying to appease people. And I think if there's something I just give advice in general to people who are growing up, just do you. Like, you can take guidance, and who you listen to is who you want to listen to. But like, just because everyone's saying something doesn't always mean they're right. Just because it seems like everyone is on one side and you're on the opposite does not mean, you know, you're in the wrong.
Yeah, you gotta carve your own path, right?
For sure.
I grew up super Catholic, and like I said, I'm still fascinated with like um a lot of aspects of it. I think that like the world would be such a different place, and in good ways and in bad. And it's like one thing I take away that I really like is like all the architecture and the music and all the like basically all the superficial shit from it. I think it's like really interesting and fascinating. But yeah, for me, it was like I remember like that feeling of like someone telling you that like, hey, if you do this,
You're
bro,
going. You're
you're
done,
done.
dude.
You're done, son.
Forever.
You're done forever.
Not only when you die, like, or until you
Yeah.
die. You're done
Like,
after you
forever
die.
after.
You're done after you die. That death, you're
Yeah.
done.
It's brutal.
It's like
yeah, I
it's
think-
like yeah, God forgives everyone, but if you touch yourself, you will not. See, like,
If you even
like,
look at another man,
you will not see
Oh,
the end.
I
of
think
it.
the sense of community that church brings is like something that people seek out naturally. It's just that the church in a sense is like you get the double-edged sword of like you get the community, but you also get to feel good about yourself. I think a lot of people are like Christmas and Easter Catholics, or like
yeah, they
You know
call
what I
him
mean? Like-
CEO, Christmas, Easter only.
yeah, exactly. CO, yep. So for me, it was literally every Sunday. Like I went to CCD outside of church too. Like I went through all that shit. And on the whole, I actually met some of my closest friends through that shit. None of them stayed religious, but that's just
It's part of
by
it.
happenstance.
It's actually
It's by-
you.
it's
You
by
guys are
happenstance,
you
dude.
guys are definitely the majority. It's actually the truth, though.
Have
Yeah.
you guys met people who have this like strange fixation on religion to the point where it's like they aren't even abiding by the values. They're just like slaving themselves in like a weird way. And there's almost like a blindness to it.
They
I
went
remember
too far.
specifically my stepmother was very religious, like insanely, right? And every time we had Christmas and we had like anything that wasn't an obvious religious symbol, like if we had a fucking reindeer on the lawn, or if we dressed up a tree, like unless it was obviously religious, she would try to ruin the day. Like she
Oh,
would go
wow.
out of her day to
No.
fuck everything.
Those are
I-
pagan symbols,
fuck
so you should be
everything.
To
ashamed.
be fair, the reindeer is a consort of Satan. So
What?
Yeah.
Is
It's a
that
horned-
serious?
He has
It's a
a red
horn-hooved
nose for
creature.
a reason, Cram.
Red nose
666
as
horns of
is the portal to
reindeer
hell.
beast. It is.
He's like, that red nose is
Uh,
a curse, not a blessing.
But I always used to think to myself, like, does God really want you like to trample over all the happiness that we're having on this day, just for some weird like fixation to him? I don't know. That
Christ is
sort of
sick.
stuff.
Can we just end this on yo, big ups to Jesus. Yo,
Big
shout outs Jesus. Can one of the mods shout out Jesus Christ?
Shout out to our
Shout
Lord
out
and Savior.
Christ.
I hate the fact
shout
that
out Christ our Savior.
that's probably a fucking Twitch account.
Yeah, shout out Jesus Christ.
And he just goes around like XQC things and probably has a
Yo,
juice
can we
or
get a-
something.
Can we get a weird champ to the guys who crucified him too? Can we get a weird
Yeah,
champ in the
so
chat
we-
for that?
Yo, at Romans, weird champ.
That Roman's weird champ.
Anyway, I think it's time to pivot. We'll maybe talk about religion when we're feeling a little bit more frisky sometime if we
Yeah,
really want to
let's just go to the political
ostracise
space.
some of our
It's too real.
community members.
All right,
That's
guys.
too real. Let's-
Abortion.
All right.
Pro-life.
Anyway.
So let's talk politics.
Yeah, let's go from religion to politics. What a great bounce. Anyway. Oh, thank you, Buddha is better for the
An anonymous giver.
Okay, so what I actually understood from that is actuality. Thank you for
Thanks,
gifting a sub to
Suck
Buddha
on
is
that,
better
Jesus.
420.
Yo, I take everything back, dude. I take everything back, dude. Yo, Jesus is a buster, actually.
Anyways, like
Hey, Jesus, you gonna let this guy do this? Come on, you gotta donate some subs too, man. Show us your power.
Smite me.
we
Smite
got
me,
we got to pivot. Anyway,
We gotta pivot.
Pog or Dog, did you guys like your generation's music? What do you even consider your generation's music? Fucking Avril Lavigne over there, Soklops? Fucking
Sure, yeah, like well,
Sure.
it's in two
We'll
sections,
take
right?
Avril.
Yeah, we'll take Avril. It's like early on. So like early on would be like pop music like Britney Spears or Backstreet Boys or like what I listened to a lot of
Insane,
was
all those guys.
like I'm not a big fan of like they're all hits, they're all bangers, they're all like pop bangers, but like I remember growing up, I listened to such a wide range of music. I listened to like Mudvayne and Slipknot, and I listened to a lot of like hardcore music, and I listened to 3 6 Mafia and 50 Cent, and I want to say like that's probably my most formative years for like early 2000s hip hop, late 90s, early 2000s hip hop, and late 90s, early 2000s like new metal, which is weird, but that's like
Pumping the Carter 3 on a repeat.
the Carter 3, and the Volume 3 by Slipknot,
Yep.
the subliminal verses.
Now, do you think your generation's music was good? Because I feel like whenever I watch your fucking streams, you're always listening to new music. And I wouldn't even say this is my generation's music. I would just say
I have some decent. I have a decent amount of 90s bangers. I actually need to cull my playlist because my playlist is literally a copy and paste of a different playlist, and I've since like kind of added a bunch of stuff to it, but not taken anything out. And there's a few songs that probably need to go because they don't fall into the category, which is slappers. They're all supposed to slap, and if they don't slap hard enough, they have to go. That's why I advise anyone in my chat, if you have a slapper, drop it. I don't care what genre it is. I've added classical music people have dropped, pop music, rap music, electronic music. If it bumps, dude, it's getting put on the playlist for sure. I'm not like picky. I don't have like a type of music that like is off limits necessarily.
Ak, how do you feel about your music from your generation growing up?
I mean, I listen to all music, and I think all music is fantastic. I don't think there's a generation of music that is bad. I think that
Yeah.
people who try to pigeonhole music into like eras and be like, "Oh man, this music's bad or this music's good," I think all music is great. You guys finally found something I like. I like music, man. I'm down with
Oh,
music.
let's
think
go.
that's
It's
something-
like my great tragedy is that I have like no musical aptitude, and like a lot of my close friends are all like amazing musicians. So I'll just like sit there and like watch them play amazing music and wish that I could like participate.
You know what
but
they say?
shit's-
Like, if you don't play religious hymns, you actually go to hell as well.
All right,
That's true.
we're pivoting, Cram.
I
What
think-
do you
I
think,
think-
of your like music growing up, Cram? Give me your
I-
input.
Didn't really listen to music.
Oh, I knew he was gonna say it.
So the only music that I can really relate to is like
Video
some
game.
video game soundtracks.
Oh,
And there was
I-
also like a year of my life where I was like kind of into dubstep, and then I unplugged my ears and realized what I was listening to and stopped.
Anyway, so what I will say for my music is I feel like growing up we had like the big ones, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Chris Brown assaulting Rihanna. That was very big in my
That's pog.
younger
Very
years.
Pog. Yeah, very pog.
But we also had like, and this is kind of what I hated about my generation. There'd always be a one-hit wonder that like, and the songs were never better than the main people. Like, I was okay with the main people. Like, you can not like Taylor Swift, that's whatever, or Justin Bieber, that's fine. But like, Natasha Bedingfield, Pocket Full of Sunshine? Are you serious? That's the #1 song? Like,
That's
her
a little
saying,
overplayed.
I gotta, like, come on. Get out of here with that shit. And like, a lot of the like #1 songs were just never like, they never had meaning. They never, and even to this day, like, Happy by Pharrell, fucking,
Okay, happy
Can't-
kind
don't
of
stop-
slaps.
are you serious?
Yeah, it
Oh,
does.
that's one of my most hated songs. I'm sorry.
So here's a hot take that a lot of people aren't going to agree with because it kind of challenges a lot of people's views about music. Is like the popular music is objectively good because there's actually like a scientific reason why certain rhythms and lyrics and there's science behind music and why it's catchy and why people like it, and it's just good music. Popular music is usually good, objectively good or catchy in some way. Whether or not you like are personally attached to it or like the message behind it, or like it all depends on how you define what good music is. But for me, I'm just like, dude, if the instrumental's good, I don't care what's happening vocally on it. Like I'll listen to like Metallica and then hit next and it'll be like Kid Cudi, and then I'll hit next and it'll be like Justin Bieber, and I'll hit like if someone's making good music and it's instrumentally good and catchy, or lyrically catchy. It's just good music. Like there's a lot of
Yeah,
good music from every genre.
that's fine with like the artists. I get what you're saying. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm okay with artists like a body of work. But when you have like songs that like like these one hit wonders that are just so campy, pop off, like It's Friday by Rebecca Black or Call Me Maybe Carly Rae Jepsen, What Does the Fox Say by whoever the fuck made
Yeah,
that
that's
song.
bad.
Like, but those
what the fuck
songs
is
go
so
number
bad?
one. That's the problem. Is like it's never the fucking like good body of work where they're actually putting time in a studio. It's like, wow, we really got okay. Do not slander Carly. All right. Well, you
All
get
these
what I'm
people
saying.
are so demonstrably more talented than anyone in this call will ever be. That's my whole point. It's
Well,
like
Yeah.
music.
at
well,
music,
with like Rebecca
music.
Black's thing, her parents like paid a studio to give her the song, let her record it. They told her
Yeah.
they wrote the song
You
for her,
see-
made the music,
you're-
and she just did that, and then she got death threats. Like, granted, I don't think she deserves that, but to say like, you know, like she really has like a love and inspiration for the music, it's like no, like her parents like just wanted her to blow up, so they like paid like some studio to like, you know, market her.
But so here's the thing though, like do the means nullify the ends as being a catchy and or like, existing song?
I think a
right?
song
That says-
should say something, not
Guess what?
not say something. That's all
Guess
I'm
what,
gonna
Justin?
say.
You still know all the lyrics to Friday.
You do.
I might,
You
but
know
that's
you could
because I
sing
made a
that song.
parody of
You
it.
could sing that song at karaoke. You
You
made
know
you made a parody.
every
of it.
single word.
You contributed to the problem.
But it's
Because
also like
it's-
how, but it's also how often you hear it, right? But all I'm saying is, I think, and like even like fucking 90s and 2000s music, they had, I don't know what it is. There's always that song that just breaks through, where it feels like you're like, why, you know?
Okay, yeah. Well, there's always going to be like one hit wonders or like
All right.
someone's greatest hits.
Can we all agree on one thing? Let's bring this back around. Let's find common ground. Can we all agree that the worst song to ever be spat out into this world is
I'm
Christmas
nervous.
Shoes? It's Christmas Shoes, folks. It's the worst song.
Christmas.
that
Can I
one?
buy these shoes for my
one that
mama,
goes-
please? Yeah.
Can I buy these shoes for my mama, please?
Some
Actually don't know
people,
that
some
one.
people really like that. For some people, it's like their favorite Christmas
just-
song. Why
so
do you?
psychotic.
He's just subconsciously blocked that song from his memory. He
I think I've
he
literally
can't have
never
not
heard
heard
that song.
It's impossible to not have heard it. You guys are just
Wait,
so
why do you think it's
traumatized by
bad?
it.
Like, I don't hate it that much, but why do you think it's bad?
It's so bad in every level. And the reason why, though, is admittedly because I used to work at a place that played it every like fifth song. So that's
Ooh, I
like,
definitely
the
heard it. If it's one of
seasonal-
those,
but
the
repetition makes you
seasonal
hate a
XM
song.
yeah. If it's
I
one
think-
of those, I definitely.
I
Heard
think
it.
if you had to listen to a song that sound like a Christmas song too much, the one that would piss you off the most would be Feliz Navidad, because it's the most
No,
repetitive.
I could listen to that forever.
I
could
love
listen
that
to
song.
Feliz
No, but if you
Navidad
only
Dominic
if
the
you listen to
Donkey.
that every 5 songs,
Dominic the Donkey, give me that on repeat forever.
it's
I'll
too
take it.
much. Like it just has the problem of like it's just too repetitive.
All right, S
Yeah.
tier Christmas song. All I Want for Christmas Is You.
I mean,
Joel,
that's like
the
the
lump of coal.
coldest take of all time. Do you want to
That's
add something?
S
That's,
tier.
I get
No,
that,
no, I'm
but
just
like
saying.
it's such a cold take.
No, but what I'm saying is that is a one hit wonder that is played on repeat. It's one of those.
But it's not
songs
a one hit.
that's
She literally has
objectively-
2 or 3 other big Christmas songs that are in the top 50.
Name them.
Christmas, the sun's rolling down.
Who?
I want you to. It's fucking. There's
Who?
another
I
one.
was,
that she sings.
There's another one. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
guys
it's
want to
like
help me reclaim Christmas? All
sure.
right, so I was on a Christmas podcast with another streamer who I won't name, and I was lambasted for saying that Joel the Lump of Coal is my favorite Christmas
Oh, here we
song.
go.
I've
dude.
never even heard
Your
it. so-
homework. Here we
I
go with
know.
Joel the Lump of Coal. Here we go with it. I need you guys to go out and listen to Joel the Lump of Coal on your own
Don't
time.
do it.
By the Killers. And let me know what you
Gingerbread
think of it.
houses.
Get Jacker, get him out of here. Ban him. Don't let him start talking about gingerbread. He's going to be insufferable. Let's move on to the next topic. What else? we got
Exclamation
here?
gingerbread.
All right.
Gingerbread is the
Did
worst.
you like your generation's fashion?
Hell yeah.
Wolf t-shirts.
Baggy
Hell yeah.
pants, multicolored shirts.
Genco
Jean
jeans. baby.
jacket.
Let's fucking go.
What is
Vans,
my
Genco
generation's
jeans. Alien Ant Farm t-shirts.
Shut the fuck up.
Sign me
Alien
up, baby.
Red
Sign
me
jumpsuit
the fuck up,
apparatus.
buddy.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I don't really fuck with sagging when you're like talking to a dude and you just see his boxers when he walks away from you. Like, I hate that
No,
shit.
that's an amateur. What you do is you sag with you have jeans and then you have
ass.
no, you don't sag bare ass.
No, that is the
Talking
Giga
balls.
Chad sag.
That's
If
Giga
you're
Chad.
sagging bare ass, you
Yeah.
have all my respect.
Whatever,
That's-
man.
Too far. You do you do the gym shorts
Yeah, I saw
Under.
that too. I saw that.
and then boxers. You do the 3
It's just
layer.
cringe. I don't fuck with sagging. I don't know. I like I said, I
never
feel like
sagged.
I never belonged in my generation. But maybe sure you guys are gonna label me.
What
What
generation is
generation
that?
is it? Yeah, which one?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
what
I
generation
just
do
feel
you
like I don't
belong to?
belong, man.
Generation
Yeah.
Z.
Just Rush rocking the Tims. I did once
Nah.
because yeah.
Get ready.
I did it
ready?
once because a girl I like requested it. Never again. Never again.
Tim's
Rather die a
Tim's?
virgin than wear Tims again.
Tim's jeans that are way too big. They have like boot cut for some reason because nobody knew how to wear jeans that fit back in the day.
Correct.
Torn t-shirt, South
Yep.
Pole bubble jacket.
Yep.
That's the
Nice.
fit, dude.
Nice.
Celtics fitted.
Oh, you want to know the actual fit though?
What's up?
Completely naked.
All right.
You never rolled up naked, dude.
What do you like
No,
or
Pixar
dislike?
didn't happen. DM me those.
What do you guys like or
Snapchat
dislike
them
from
to him.
other generations different from yours? What is something you could appreciate, Sock, about Cram's generation? Cram, what can you appreciate about Sock's generation? Tell me.
Wow. Yeah, you go
I
first,
can
Graham.
appreciate the fact that no, there's nothing.
I knew it.
I mean, to be fair, Beyblades were at an all-time peak during Soklops' generation, Cram, because
They
Beyblades
were.
have been around for a long fucking time.
No, that was the old Beyblades.
You're so
What?
cringe.
You're
The best Beyblades
okay.
are the metal fusion through metal masters. That's
Someone's
the
got to
best-
silence this kid.
That's the best Beyblades.
Please.
It doesn't
Cut
really
his mic.
matter if you have buffed
Cut his mic.
Beyblades. It's the hype around it. It has nothing to do with the whatever.
No,
Anyway.
the statistics on
Oh my god.
specifically
Dude, we had the
Popular
laser.
States.
We had the like the loader, the launcher with a laser that came out of it, and it was like new
No,
technology.
you guys
It
don't
was like
fucking know. I
alien
put
tech.
fucking gunpowder in my Beyblade.
Okay.
They crash, it's blowing up the kid in front of me.
All right. Anyway, can we Cram, do you have anything redeeming for Soklops' generation that you like, that you can respect?
He's got nothing.
I can respect the hate for boomers.
Okay.
That's the next topic. Can next. No. Cram, come on. Anything that you appreciate, not something that you can unite and hate boomers.
He doesn't like music. He doesn't like old games. He just
I mean, I
plays
don't really like. I mean, I think most of the generation kind of sucks because like it's all about trying to like be quirky and weird and like
Okay.
different.
What
And
about Billie Eilish in your generation? Like what?
Yeah, I'm not saying my generation's better, man.
Yo, he's calling us out, Soklops. He's calling us out.
Now, there's definitely some quirky folks. I
These
kind of
people with
set myself
their-
up for that. I set
With
myself
their
up for that.
I
blue
mean, I can
light, their
appreciate-
claymation Soklops, and their
I can
Yeah.
appreciate how, like,
candlelit.
how
odd
like they can
appearance.
just be social with each other and like interact like people. But I mean, I think if they were born into this generation, it'd be different, obviously.
Sure. I think that's
So
kind of the
the
case for
question is, what do I appreciate about generations?
Yeah. What do you appreciate about Cram's generation? What, like, if you were to live in it, you'd be like, actually, that would be a positive as opposed to mine.
I think that the difference, and this is again just like Cram did, it's kind of treading upon the next topic a little bit, but I think Generation Z is less hesitant to speak their mind about certain things that we would have kept quiet about more. Gen Z doesn't really give a fuck what their like weird aunts and uncles like think about their posts on Facebook or not. They don't use Facebook, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
like,
don't.
they don't
like that
care-
about my
they
generation.
don't care like what people think about their opinions. They just have their opinions and they speak them freely. Whereas like my generation was much more about like, well, that's gonna cause too much ruckus, so we better just go
Yeah. Timid.
not worry about it. I wouldn't say it was timid per se. It was non-confrontational to a fault at times, though, for sure. It was definitely like, well, I could like be socially conscious about these things, or I could go do something.
Like we
So,
couldn't
I
hit
don't
our
know, I think-
parents.
That's
I mean,
very
yeah,
true.
I don't hit my parents. What? Like, what do you mean?
All
you
right,
don't
Cram.
hit
We've
your
seen the
parents?
tapes. That's
We-
weird.
I do
He's
not.
denying.
I do not
Oh,
do
okay,
that.
guys.
We've
Guys,
seen
roll
how
the
you
clip.
speak to your mother when she brings you delicious food. We've seen how you
Ran the-
treat.
I'm
Yeah.
very nice.
Oh my God, guys. He's in
Oh, wow.
denial.
He's
All
in
right.
denial. We've kept the receipts. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
All right. Anyway,
we got
next
it.
topic.
I'm sending those over to the Guardian. No. I agree. I kind of want to piggyback off that. It's something we talked about before, actually. I think on the previous podcast where I said that, like, they're just Gen Z is just like, yeah, no, that's not okay to do, or it's not okay to be that way. We would have to listen to our dads and grandparents say abhorrent shit and just kind of be like, oh, well, that's that's just kind of how they are. Um, my grandfather was involved in like the Korean War, so you can only imagine the types of things that he has to say about certain people, and it's like
I mean, I
not
just think
right.
that's hilarious. Like, if
It's
you
not right. It
imagine,
is.
like, at Thanksgiving, he's just
It's
serving up-
actually he's not like a terrible person or anything, but like you can understand what he would say, and it's like I think it's cool that there's like an emphasis on just kind of like calling out people who are above you to be like, no, that's not okay, and here's why, and like be okay with that.
I think the base principle of that's good, but there's obviously like I think it can easily go too far. Where
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're looking for problems, like going out of your way to like start shit.
Correct.
Like that's what I hate. about
Virtue
that type of
signaling's a
stupid
problem.
stuff, for sure.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think what I think is like the biggest problem with millennials is they have like a very doomed, like the world is fucked, so whatever mindset. And the thing I don't like about Z is that I feel like they are almost too cocky, like, oh, you guys didn't think of this before. And it's like, okay, yeah, we did, but it's just there's a lot of there's roadblocks to everything, right? So it is like good to try to tackle them, and it's bad to be like very doomed, like, whatever, it's fucked. So I think both ways, like, there's kind of like, I don't know. That's how I see it. I think that's the middle ground right there. Okay. Cram, you brought this up in the last statement, but a lot of people think boomers just have no respect for the elderly. And people used to peg millennials as disrespecting like their elders, but you guys are on a whole different level. And do you want to talk about that? Like, you literally said in your first thing, I respect that millennials disrespect boomers. Like, it really just calls you out, right? Like, it really just shows your hand. Like, what is with the boomer disrespect?
Honestly, I don't really hate boomers. I just thought it was funny that millennials did. But I
They
also
don't.
think that
They're
a
not
lot
as
of
bad
Zoomers, a lot of Zoomers really do hate boomers.
Yes.
And I think that's because part of it is just like the meme is like it kind of just became like this like social thing to hate them. And another part of it is I think there's like different types of Zoomers. Like most Zoomers were probably raised by boomers and not actually millennials. I don't think millennials are giving birth to kids.
No, there's Gen X.
Like,
Zoomers are raised by Gen X. Gen X
There's
is
no
your
point to
parents.
reproduce.
Gen
Well,
X is in
what is
between boomers and millennials.
Yeah. Gen X are the ones who all look
I
like
think
Daria.
when people say boomer, they generally mean Gen X and boomer. I don't think they actually
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you guys
they
really
just mean old people.
Yeah, this is another problem with the whole thing. Yeah. I
mean,
think
there's also that sentiment where it's like a lot of Gen X slash boomers, they make it seem like they lived the hardest life, and that you should also be living the hardest life. Like, if you lived such a hard life, why do you want your kids to live through that?
I'm gonna have to disagree. I think that's more of a boomer mindset than a millennial mindset. I don't want my kids to struggle at all. I don't want my kids to
Yeah,
like.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Gen X and
Oh,
boomers.
yeah, no, for sure.
I wouldn't even lump Gen X into this. Like,
I mean, my
Gen
dad
X is
definitely
a-
thinks like that. He's Gen X, or maybe like the last year of baby boomer.
Like the whole idea of like pressuring your kids to like go to school just cause and like be in debt and everything is just so cringe to me that there's no
Yeah.
way I would ever pursue that in any way with my kid ever.
There's no like, unless you can come up
The
with like a
m-
logistical reason. I don't know.
The main structural problem is we are inclined to think the world is similar to how it was when we were in our formative years. And in the boomers' formative years, you could get a job and like live off of one salary in a family, right? Have a kid,
Fucking
like
hunt
have a
for your
couple
food.
kids, buy cars, buy your own house. No, not even
Ah,
like hunt your own food.
house
Like
was
you could
30
afford to
grand.
do all of that off of like one good salary with good benefits at like,
And the crazy
the
part is you
factory or
got
at
that
this or
job
that.
just by walking in and like shaking the guy's hand and like asking for it.
Yeah, and saving money for the week would be like eating chicken instead of beef.
Yeah.
Sure. There's just I feel like there's a trickle down effect of struggle, right? And the boomers are raised by a very, very poor generation that went through the depression and dealt with
Yep.
a lot of really fucked up shit.
World War
And we're
II.
old school and raised the boomers in that way. So their attempt to parent is based off of what they learned from their parents, just as if I ever had a kid, which I will graciously not, uh,
Mm.
I would like rack my brain for like, how was I raised? Like, I feel like you are prone to bring up your kid in the way that you were. So even if boomers themselves didn't have it as hard as they want you to believe they had it, they sure as fuck heard about how hard their parents' lives were, and they did have to do a lot of extra shit to like support their families and shit because their parents were so fucked. So like even though boomers grew up during a time where they got to a place where the markets corrected themselves, they were able to get jobs and do whatever. By the time it came around to them having kids, and then we live in a completely different society. They're like they didn't have the internet. They didn't know how to manage that. They didn't know how to deal with video games or these forms of entertainment that were distracting kids from whatever. Like back in the day, all they had to worry about was like their kids didn't die while they were out riding their bikes in the street. Like, right? Like they had to make
Yep.
sure that all right, count them up. There's 15. Yep, they're all here. Like that's
Yep.
all you had to do at the end of the day. And like that the nuance that goes into like parenting, I'm sure is like so complicated. I just don't think they were prepared at all for it. So while I do agree that that generation exemplifies like the harms of like society, I do think that there are a lot of reasons why people are the way they are. And I do think that, it's hard. Like once you're old enough and you start having like a friendship with your parents and your family, not just like a parental child relationship, you start to get to know the people that they actually are. Because they don't, and it's not your fault that you didn't know that. They just didn't want you to know who they were until you were like old enough. They're like drunk at a party. They're like, "Oh, I remember driving drunk with you in the back of the seat." Like whatever. You learn the dark details of those people. Like I don't know. I'm just rambling
True.
on here, but I think there is like an apologist level that a lot of my generation is reaching now, where parents are opening up to us and talking about who they really are. Because at a certain age, you start getting close to that point where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna die eventually, right? It's like my parents are at that point now where they're like, hey, I'm not immortal. Let me talk to you about stuff. Like, let's have a real relationship while we
Like,
can.
son, I actually
Fuck.
did love you the whole time. It's like,
Right.
thank you.
So I don't know. I think that boomers get a bad rap because they're clumsy and they didn't have anyone calling them out on like being fucking idiots and like saying dumb shit. And if you
Yep.
call them out enough or you speak to them, eventually you can get through to them and be like, hey mom, like that word is not a word that we use anymore because it's archaic and hurtful. Or
But
like
continue because
Grammy,
it's
we don't like,
hilarious.
right. So like you have to like try to balance that shit. Like 20, 30 years from now, shit that we said is going to be controversial because of
Yep.
the context in which it was said. And the bad boomers are the ones that are culpable, are the ones that keep doing that shit after they're called out. It's the ones who like are like, oh, okay, I understand, and like I can change, but like you can only change so much once you're that far down the road. I think so. I don't know. There's a weird love hate relationship with the boomers from my generation. I think that we are coming around to respect them more for what they did in certain ways, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the only like frustration, and I think this isn't even like a hot take, is just the fact that like in politics before, political people would rotate every like 10, 15 years, but this generation of politicians have been like the same motherfuckers for 40 years. So it's just time for like Gen X to take over. I feel like Gen X being like, and I don't want to be offensive, but like it's just not like the strongest go getting generation, has really put like the millennials like in a bad spot. Um I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. That's just kind of how I see it. I mean, like there's just such a disproportionate number because the way it's supposed to be is like the Gen X people are supposed to be dominating like politics right now and be like a majority of the politicians, but it seems like they just don't really have like a voice that they're encapsulating the country, and we're just stuck with like the same voices over and over again, which are kind of just outdated. Not to get like too into politics, like I'm just saying in general, like it's the same people. That's why, like, whenever I get my ballot, I don't care. Like, I mean, I'm in California, dude. I'm voting Democrat. I don't really have much like political party choice, but I always just vote for like not the incumbent because I'm just sick of like the same people. But that's
Yeah,
just
no,
I
me.
don't know
for
what any
sure.
of that is.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I think a lot of people feel too. Like even Zoomers are just like, why do we have like? You can go to a fucking tape and watch Joe Biden like say a speech like 40 years ago, and it's like the same shit, man. I mean, it just feels like it's just the same people, like over and over again. Even when Hillary Clinton was like running for president, it's like, man, she was the first lady in the 90s and she's still around, you know? It's like, it's just.
Well, it's just funny. It's just funny how like rat politicians are too. You know, it's like I would love for there to be a president who wasn't like dying tomorrow. I'd love if that was an option. Someone who actually has a vested interest in actively changing things now because it will affect them in their lifetime. I think that's a major thing too. And it's like it's funny to watch like the rat politicians who like you can actually go back on record and see how their views on very like dichotomous, like clear black and white issues have changed due to the popularity of them. And it's like not like people can't change their opinion, but it's like Hillary Clinton was against gay marriage like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
And she used to
It's
like
like-
say really racially charged language to black people like in the 90s.
Yeah, it's like and now because you know, that's like a very black and white thing. It's like either you respect people getting married who love each other or you don't. And it's like to see someone flip-flop like that, it's just you can tell when someone's being disingenuous because there's receipts for all of it. It's all been recorded. So it's
You could
like
probably literally make like an edit where it's like a politician. He's just like, yeah, women should not get a choice in this matter because we gave them all the choices in every. It's like a complete shift in just opinion
yeah.
from one side
Yeah.
to the next.
And it's just weird how some of these politicians stances change so radically just based on the changing times, and it's like it almost seems too convenient. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's necessarily a change of person. It's almost like whoever their publicist is working for them is telling them, "Hey, you need to steer clear of this language or that language, or in order to gain the most votes and the most traction in your campaign, you need to focus on this and stay away from that." And it's like it's all fake bullshit. So I was kind of yang gang for a bit, but like what are you gonna do?
You know, I don't really get it. Like, what's the end game for these like 80-year-old politicians? Like,
I don't know, bro.
what do they want? Like, why not just retire? You're gonna die.
If you're a
in, like,
politician, you don't realize like how much money you make. You make a lot of money.
Yeah, you make like six
I mean, who
figures at
cares?
least.
Like, if you're making that much money, if
Oh,
you're,
you
if
make
you're
way more
trying
than
to be
six
president.
figures. You're making
I'm
7.
saying at least. I'm saying like if you're like a
Yeah.
low level like
If you're in like a Senate seat or a House of Representative seats, you're already making that though, because that's another like big problem is that it's rich white people who are like running this country for the last.
Yeah, and you could just vote on party lines, mail it in every day of work. It's great. Like
I mean,
you
not
have
to-
it
not to
made
get-
once you're a politician.
To get too like, I don't want to go down the politics rabbit
here-
hole too much because
here-
it is a that's a whole podcast in itself.
Sure,
The
yeah.
issue, I want to answer the question about why Gen X didn't have the same stock in politics that boomers still have. And that's
Mhm.
because the mechanisms of politics haven't changed since the boomers
Correct.
were around.
You
The
can't get rid of them, bro.
structure of the system is hard to get invested in for our generations. Like we are able to get invested about issues and we're able to get, a platform of our own positions and beliefs, but we don't get riled up being like, man, I can't wait to get out on the campaign trail and slog it out and like pretend to like people for like, months on end so that I could win an election, because that's not what someone with like true convictions does. Whereas people who get elected to political positions go at people that hate them and like just put a
Correct.
face on and just get through it. And it's not something that you can get excited about if you're Gen X, if you're a millennial, if you're Gen Z, especially now. Like, there's not this like accessibility to like, oh, you want to be a representative for your district? Well, here's what you do. It's like this inaccessible, like you got to go to the fucking like Masons Lodge and go to the Illuminati meeting and get the scroll and get 50 signatures and then whatever. Like, there's all this bullshit that is like
Yep. Sacrifice the
just
kid. Yep.
it's something that we don't have a stomach for, but like people who have been in politics are like, oh, I know how this works, so I'm comfortable doing it. I'll just keep doing it.
I wanted to kind of be into politics at one point, but after I ate my third baby, I decided maybe it wasn't for me. And I just
Yeah, those
stayed clear of
toddler
it.
arms really get old.
Yeah, they're hard to eat too, like generally.
All right, we're scratching on the
Tough.
surface in the last like 5 minutes. The one thing I wanted to bring to you guys' attention, there's actually a new show called The Generation Gap. And granted, you know, TV shows are cringe, game shows are cringe. However, I just thought it was interesting that the fact that like they pair a boomer with a zoomer, and it's kind of like something we're talking about. Like they asked the boomer like, what does the K stand for in K-pop? And they don't know, and like then they show the zoomer a picture of Sinatra and they have no idea. You know, it's just kind of like pointing out like how different like the world has been. You know,
Yeah,
I think it's just something that's interesting.
Yeah, killed 30 people in Vietnam.
But at the end of the day, we can highlight our differences. But at the end of the day, are we really that different? That's the closing question, guys. Are we really, really, really that different?
Hey, as long as we're all the same color.
Jesus. Are we really that
Flip it.
different?
Cram was a boomer, apparently.
Yeah.
Boomer soul.
I don't think that people are that different. I think that the lens through which we view the world can be very different. But if we were able to be like show everyone the apparatus of all the different little things that different generations are looking through, be like, hey man, like you're looking at the same shit. You're just seeing it through like, you know, where you were born, what socioeconomic class you were born into, what year you were born, what religion you were born into. All that shit flavors and cultivates who you are as a person. So I think that generationally, it matters a lot less than it does like whether you're born rich or poor, or whether you're born like in the United States or in a different country. Like I think it
Yeah.
matters like more distinctly about like your culture, your religion, your socioeconomic status. That shit is what makes people different, and it doesn't make them different as human beings. It makes them different in this class sort of structure. I don't think that that's really like a thing that is necessarily good. Is like this notion of like all boomers are bad, but there's like, you know, broke ass boomers who are actually our like comrades in the Great War. You know, we got to get them on board. So I don't think we're all that different. I think everybody is mighty similar. Is
Yeah.
my narrative there.
If you try to paint everyone with a broad brush like that, it's just an L overall. It's just not true. Like any actual topic, like any actual deep topic, the answer is not like on one side or the other. It's usually somewhere in between. It's
Or
never
there's
going to
no
be 100%. Yeah, or there's no answer. It's never going to be 100% in one direction, though. I think we can all agree on that. Anything political, any hot button issue, the reason why it's a hot button issue is because there's so much, you know, there's so much variance in like the spectrum of your opinion you can have on it. And generational stuff is the same way. Like no two boomers are the same. There are some that are very close, though. I'll say that.
Cram, you have a final thought? Are we really that different?
No, probably not.
All right, I think we are. I think all of our natures are very similar and the same. But because the world changes every fucking day and has different experiences throughout, we've all been nurtured very differently. And I think a time period in which we grew up plays a huge part in that. And that's okay. I think I started this podcast thinking we're all the same. And I have ended this podcast thinking we are different. I feel like you guys started thinking that we were very different, and now you think it's the same. So it's funny how the world changes. It's funny how the opinions change. But yeah, do you guys have anything you want to say? It's not scripted. I actually think that's my genuine opinion. I think nurture. I think nurture plays way bigger of a role than nature does. Personally.
All right, let's just go around the table and say what generation we belong in. Starting with Justin.
The bridge.
All right, I'm out. See you guys later.
The bridge is like a dad rock radio station. That's not like a real generation. That's like you're listening to 99.7 The Bridge.
Yeah.
I like to go on the record saying that my first commentary on generations was that the four of us look like four evolutions of the same Pokemon. So I did not, in fact,
You didn't include
say that
me.
we
You
were
said
different.
the three of you. The
I
three
said that
of
we
you.
were all evolutions of the same Pokemon.
Wait, who's
No,
the
you're
base
the
evolution?
first. You're like the tadpole, and then Cram is the frog, and then
Okay, that's
Soklops is the turtle with cannons on its back, and then I am the old grandpa turtle that's dying. That's the evolution.
That's good to know. Do
know?
you guys have
That's
anything
beautiful.
you want to plug as we wrap this up? I definitely want to bring you guys back on soon. I think we're actually getting to the point for these podcasts where I could just bring you like 3 on and we don't even need a topic. We could just talk for an hour and a half, which is where I want to
We can
get.
just talk about anything.
Yeah, I
You
just
know,
want
fuck a take. Yeah, we don't need a script.
It's not scripted. Anyway, regardless of
Yeah,
that.
we can
I'm
honestly
looking at
get
the
rid of our
script.
script that we're reading from this whole podcast.
Yeah, I'm
All
looking-
right,
I'm
there's
looking
no script, chat.
Kinda
There's no
tired.
Check out the
script.
copy of the script. The script
Anyone
will
else
be
tired of
available
reading?
show.
Soklops, you
online.
tired of reading?
Wake up.
Anyway, Sock, do you want to promote anything or wrap it up in any way?
Nah, dude, just come check out my Twitch channel. Watch me play dead games. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Literally dead
Come see
games,
the
Dead by
Cyclops
Daylight.
in person. The one-eyed monster in person.
I guess my thing is, in 12 more subs, Cram will come to my house and we'll probably do this podcast next to each other or something. So, if you want to see that, I guess. Cram, anything you want to say? You're muted. Okay. Actuality, he's intentionally muted.
What? He's muted? Oh, he's intentionally muted?
All right.
Wow.
What about you, Ax?
That's a good
Anything you
bit.
want to say?
I would like to say that if you like the dagger earrings that Soklops is wearing tonight, check out etsy.com/Soklops. Get your own. They're amazing. He makes them himself
Shut
by
the fuck
hand.
up.
That's a iconic staple of the millennial generation. The hot topic dagger earrings. So get yours while you can.
That was a roast and a
don't
half.
leave. This goes out to the Catholics. Don't leave your kids in the hot car. Let them have the conversation with you. Let them talk next to you. Okay.
Just
all right.
If
That was a
really
little
important-
too real, Sock, that you just had that ready, because I have felt that pain.
Dude, I swear to God, the conversation between my mom and like her friend is literally like about to end. Like they're literally saying goodbye, and then she trips on a pebble and it starts like 30 more minutes of conversation.
Yeah. All right, guys. We are definitely over. On the count of 3, you guys ready to say goodbye to the chat?
Yes.
Now.
3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Peace.